Welcome back. Well, the Senate is to investigate allegations raised by Minister of State for Petroleum Ibe Kachiku against NNPC Group Managing Director Maikanti Baru over insubordination. Senator Samuel Anyanwu moved the motion to amend a prayer on the issue by Senator Kabiru Marafa. Aliyu Wamako heads the nine-man ad hoc committee. No time frame given to the ad hoc committee by the Senate President Bukola Saraki. In a letter leaked to the public, Kachiku accused Baru of completely eroding some of the reforms he introduced as head of the oil firm. The minister stated the NNPC announced a massive shake-up affecting 55 staff, and to his surprise, the NNPC board, which he is the chairman, had no input. Energy expert Bala Zaka joins us now to talk more about this shocking revelation that came out on Tuesday to Wednesday. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yes, as a Nigerian first off, how shocked were you when you read the leaked memo?
Well, first of all, when I heard about it, I wish it was a rumor, really. But when I confirmed that it was true, to be honest, I felt very, very sad. Because when you talk about an entity, or an organization, the worst thing that can happen in an organization is to have management disharmony. Once you have management disharmony, then that means the implementation and the actualization of the vision and mission of that organization will be what? Will be threatened. So the first thing that came to my mind was I said, these are the two most senior Nigerians as we speak today, at that strategic level that we have handed over the custody of the focusing, redesignment, and the retracking of that national institution called the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry, or NNPC. And let us also have it at the back of our mind that you are talking about that industry that probably constitute more than 80% of the oxygen of our country's economy, in this case, revenue.
Absolutely.
So when I heard about it, I wish it was a rumor, but when I confirmed it, it was very, very sad, and it has so many implications.
So many, and we're going to get to the issue of the implications, what this really means for Nigeria going forward, since this is the heart
and even the
of
global
the Nigerian
community.
Exactly. Now, the issues raised in this letter, as grievous as they are, the leak of the letter in itself is equally grievous. How do we even begin? The charge or allegation of humiliation on the part of Maikanti Baru towards the Minister of State for Petroleum Ibe Kachiku, insubordination, unilateral appointment of key executive positions at the NNPC, the opaqueness when it comes to issuing contracts of worth up to $25 billion.
In Naira, that's 9
no,
trillion.
that just goes through the roof.
More than
don't even
the 2017
begin. Don't bother
budget
about the calculation now. Okay, we'll come back to that because
worries.
These are very serious. When we come back from this break, we'll take it from there. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back. You're watching TVC Breakfast this Thursday morning. We're looking at the Kachiku versus
Maikanti
Baru saga. Bala Zaka is our guest in the studio, and we're discussing this. Of course, we're trying to make sense of the distress which Ibe Kachiku has expressed that this memo to the president actually leaked. But what we want to focus on now, as much as we can, is some of the allegations raised by Ibe Kachiku against Maikanti Baru, the GMD of the NNPC, insubordination, opaque contracts to the amount of some $25 billion, and his inability to actually access Mr. President since he came back from his, sick leave, which, of course, prompted his having to write this memo to the president. Let's look at all of this and what the implications are, like you were trying to point out earlier.
You see, we learned that the upper chamber has set up a committee to look at that. So while we await the outcome, you know, of the investigation or the reports of the committee, we can also talk about the wider implications. I can tell you, based on what has leaked out and has been confirmed to be true, that there is a friction between these two great Nigerians that are pretending over the Nigerian oil and gas industry. If NNPC were to be traded on or a member of the Nigerian Stock Exchange or a global stock exchange, what is happening now will have sent the shares of NNPC crashing straight away. Straight away. If it was a trading company? Because yes, if it were to be a trading company, that is how terrible or serious things will have been. And I can tell you, Nigeria is not only a member of OPEC, but Nigeria domiciles so much in terms of crude oil, right? What has happened now has sent a very bad, not only wrong, but a bad signal to the global oil community and OPEC in general, that is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. And we shouldn't forget that before now, the person that superintended over this same, you know, Nigerian oil and gas industry, you know, Desani Alison Madueke, already has a cloudy, you know, posture, you know, about her credibility and integrity. So with what is happening now, I can tell you this, a bad and a wrong signal has permeated across.
Does it mean it's business as usual, since you pointed out the issue of Desani Alison Madueke, who is still facing her battles right now after being petroleum minister? Is it business as usual at the NNPC, where you find contracts given to companies who do not pay taxes to the federal government, according to Ibe Kachiku's memo to the president?
Well, it simply says that so many things are clumsy about NNPC. People now are likely to believe that there is professional indecency, right? There is possible financial corruption there. There is possible professional corruption, and there is possible moral indecency or corruption. Because let's have it at the back of our minds that we hope to pass the petroleum industry be into law. So when you have the two most respected or senior people superintending over that body, you know, organization, now being revealed that they have a clash, that simply means even the petroleum industry bill is likely to have some confusion. There is every likelihood that people will now feel when the passage has also been delayed or the repackaging of the PIB for effective passage has always been messed up because of the internal wranglings. And you know, when you talk about management, you have operational levels, you have tactical level, and you have strategic. Strategic has to do with the planning and refocusing to achieve the vision and mission. And the people we are talking are the strategic executives. Then we are also expecting that the marginal field bid will soon come in, you know, and people will go. With this confusion also by the two most senior superintendents.
Won't investors will stay away?
No, it's sending already a wrong signal. And regardless of how that the outcome will be of the awards of licenses, people are likely to feel there are misunderstandings, there are factions, and it's possible that the whole thing is also going to be opaque. Remember also, not quite long, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries allowed Nigeria to continue producing that quota that was allocated to her. But we knew that, of course, it wasn't only Nigeria. There was Libya, there was Iran. We attributed all those, you know, to probably disruptions, wars. But in the case of Nigeria now, it was possible that NNPC or the Nigerian oil and gas team made a good presentation, and that was why we were allowed to continue producing. But with what is going on now, it has also sent a wrong signal.
All right.
And when they meet in November, there is every likelihood that they will not feel Nigeria is going to make a better presentation.
Almost every time, Nigerians hear that, in fact, President Muhammadu Buhari is not the one ruling the country, that there is a particular cabal, the Aso Rock. ruling on behalf of the president. And Chief of Staff Abba Kyari is always fingered almost every time when discussions like this crop up. And again, he is part of the NNPC board. The minister, like she said earlier, doesn't have free access to the president. And when you whip all this up, and with the coincidence kind of the motion moved by Senator Samuel Anyanwu on the floor of the Senate, that there was need to carry out a holistic investigation on the trading of NNPC because of the shady way contracts were awarded to Duke Oil.
Correct.
You wonder why the secret cow, NNPC, had not been investigated or probed years back.
You see, it's one thing to be a visionary leader, right, or a visionary chief executive. It is one thing to have supportive and focused lieutenants. And that simply means Mr. President is just one person. Even though we said he is the president, I mean, he is even the substantive minister. You didn't hear me mentioning him. I just talked about these two chief executives because Mr. President is superintending over everything, over health, over education, over oil, even over the activities of area boys. And because he needs to, I remember one time, former President Obasanjo, you know, when a drug baron had issues in one of the Asian countries, President Obasanjo said, regardless of what happens, as long as that person is a citizen of Nigeria, I'm supposed to be affected. So in this case, Mr. President is just one. His visionary intention or intentions can just be classified as one thing. But your supportive lieutenants in this case, whether you talk about the ministers, whether you talk about chief executives, like the group managing director of NNPC, if they cannot come together, if there will be no congruency to make sure national objectives are achieved, then Nigeria will continue to be doomed.
This makes
and that's not working in tandem seems to be a major challenge. It's not the first time that you have people of this profile within the same government having a face-off. You have the NHIS
and the Minister
of Health, Isaac Adewale, having this spat. We don't know how that has gone so far. The same Kachiku has been at daggers drawn with Amechi over, you know, issues concerning the Maritime University.
Yes.
Correct. And then Kachiku and the same Mekanti Baru had a face-off over the issue of how to handle the Niger Delta militancy.
The management and handling of crisis in recent days in Nigeria has actually been a bit unfortunate. I still remember again, there was a time Lieutenant General Alani Akirina, they gave an interview. You know, and he said in their days, during the days of the Supreme Military Council, they used to have frictions to the point of even trying to use chairs, but nobody knew. They were having that. I think that was in the days of Gowon also. He said all those things were happening, but because of what they represent, because of the citizens they are leading, by the time they come out, there should be a posture. The fact that a confidential and a restricted material like that later leaked is enough to show that Nigeria is truly an unorganized country.
And it makes you wonder why Ibe Kachiku was even removed as the GMD of NNPC, a position he held and wielded a lot of power in the sector, to that of a somewhat ceremonial position of Minister of State for Petroleum. And many Nigerians are asking why that in the first place, that it could have been a plan all along. You know, to bring someone in and then, you know. Why people say Nigeria is honestly an opaque country in terms of its activities is because we see interplay of so many things that at the end of the day throw up things that are not showing national interest. And as long as that continues, honestly, people will not respect Nigeria. And that is why at some point, you know, there was a time Nigeria was described as a great country of great people, but a bad example. When people say you are great, you are intelligent, you are sound, but you are a bad model. I know what they say, that anything after but is the actual reality.
And that is not good for Nigeria.
All right, we'll get even deeper into all of these discussions with our guest, Bala Zaka. energy expert on the issue of Ibe Kachiku and Mekanti Baru of the NNPC, the GMD of NNPC, and the Minister of State for Petroleum, and that letter that leaked. Back into our discussion over the Kachiku Mekanti Baru face-off. Our guest is Bala Zaka. Now, in his memo, Kachiku actually raised a number of issues. Of course, he talked about the fear culture that is now entrenched in the NNPC. People are afraid to, to talk because of the backlash that may come about as a result of that. Now, he's called for a suspension of the 55 appointments that Mekanti Baru made without his knowledge or input, and of course to restore the position and to restore the dignity and integrity of the whole of the NNPC. Are these allegations and claims, are they enough for somebody to be losing their job right now as we speak?
Honestly, what is happening is a bit complicated because those allegations are heavy. And they are not only heavy, they are not positive allegations. Though there is nothing like a positive allegation, if we may put it that way. I would just want to hold on for now and let's hear the other side of the response. But the general thing today is there is confusion as far as the Nigerian oil and gas industry is concerned. A wrong signal is being sent to the global oil and gas community. Definitely, Nigeria is not playing the role it is supposed to play as the country that has the biggest crude oil reserve within the continent of Africa. Then it's also very clear that so many things we thought were going to be El Dorado for us are not likely to be so due to this suspicion. Like we said, the petroleum industry bill delays, the marginal fields analysis. We can now see why at a point you will hear that, okay, it is direct sale, direct purchase. The next day you will hear it is crude oil swap. Before you hear, you are planning pipelines from one place to the other. Before you know what's happening, the whole thing is disrupted. Remember, we have always said at a point, Nigeria and Nigerians had what it takes to supply gas, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline. If we had been having a harmonious management, by today we are supposed to be supplying natural gas to Europe through the Mediterranean Sea.
If not to the rest of the world. Wow. And it makes you wonder whether this is a battle for supremacy or a battle for the soul of Nigeria.
And many analysts, of course, have said that it is going to be a litmus test to the anti-corruption drive of the present administration.
Definitely, we are not seeing national interest at play here.
All right, Bala Zaka, will have to say thank you very much for your time and your input. Energy expert, our guest this morning on the show. Of course, this discussion will continue for a long time.
It's a developing story.
It is a developing one.